I recently made a big decision. One that all runners have to make. A choice that divides the community. I switched from Garmin to COROS.
The COROS Pace 3 is the latest instalment in the lightweight, powerful and budget-friendly pace lineup from COROS. Coming in at just 30 grams, this watch is packed with features to satisfy every runner's analytic needs.
Let's have a look at some stats. First of all, this is £219.99 and it comes with either a silicone strap or a nylon strap. It's got a 1.2 inch screen, it's 11.7 millimeters thick, and it weighs 39 grams with the silicone strap or 30 grams with the nylon strap. This is incredibly similar to the Garmin Forerunner 245, which is my old watch, and is kind of the same level on the market in terms of price and capabilities. Battery life is a big one. It has 24 days continuous use and boasts a massive 38 hours at GPS at its most basic level. If you upgrade the standard of the GPS to all systems on, it goes down to 25 hours, and if you upgrade even further to dual band frequency, it goes down to 15 hours. However, you have much improved GPS accuracy. It has a 4GB memory for music but can't connect to any streaming sites, so you have to download the music onto the watch before you start your run. It has excellent navigation. You can load maps onto the watch, routes that you've planned in advance. It has breadcrumb, turn by turn and back to start functionalities. It of course has an optical heart rate sensor so you can measure your heart rate, but also your HRV, SpO2, and it has great sleep tracking. From the analytics side of it, it has a computer and phone app where you can look at all of your data, view your activities and plan your training. So those are some facts, but what about my review of it? How does the COROS Pace 3 compare to other watches on the market, especially the Garmin Forerunner 245? First of all, in many ways they're very, very similar, especially physically. They're pretty much the exact same size. I don't really notice a difference in weight or comfort when they're on my wrist. Firstly, let's look at price. It's very similar to the Garmin Forerunner 245 in terms of its placement in the market. That kind of budget option that's a bit more advanced than some of the really basic fitness trackers, but much cheaper than a lot of Garmin watches that will track your ultra run for 3 days and then tell you what to have for breakfast the next day. It basically has all of the functions that you'd want a decent running watch to have, I think. Has heart rate, has sleep tracking, has multiple activity tracking, including a multi-sport mode. You can put your maps on there, you can put workouts on there, follow the routes on there, you can get notifications on there and view a lot of your data from the watch. There are a few places, however, that I think it really shines. One of those is the computer and phone apps. I think the data is laid out in a brilliant way. I think it's better than Garmin in just how it looks and how easy it is to use. From an actual in-the-moment perspective, I think the data screens on this is fantastic. For a start, you can fit a lot of data onto the screen, so you can have things like your average heart rate, your effort pace, lap pace, average pace, all sorts of things all on one face of the watch. And you can customize what you see on your watch face through the app, and I think this is really useful. You can obviously customize the faces on the Garmin as well, but I love the fact you can do it through the app with this because it just makes it quicker to do. Fumbling around with buttons on a watch is just not as easy as going into an app and sorting it quickly. And in general, you can control pretty much all of the watch settings from your phone. Rather than scrolling through endless menus, you can just quickly get it done on your phone. The battery life has been fantastic so far. I got it over a week ago now and I charged it once, and that's because it came with about 60%, and right now it's on 31%, so this thing does not run out of battery quickly. Plus, when you want to charge it, it charges very, very quickly. COROS claims to have it under 2 hours. I think it took much less than that for me. The GPS accuracy is fantastic. Obviously, you can kind of choose what accuracy level you want it at. If you're going to do an ultra, you want it to last for as long as possible rather than necessarily have the most accurate map. That's where the standard GPS mode comes in. Personally, I have it on dual band frequency because I don't really mind about it running out of battery a bit faster, because if I'm at home, I can charge it, whack it on charge for a bit and it'll be back up to where I want it. I don't really mind about that. However, I do like the additional detail in my GPS, and so far in comparison to the Garmin, it has been more accurate and I haven't had any GPS issues so far. Okay, it's over £200, but I think for the amount of stuff that is in this watch, it's an incredibly good value watch. There are lots of watches that are more expensive than this with fewer features, to be honest, and COROS isn't the biggest brand ever, but I think what they're doing is fantastic and I'd love to see where they go in the future. What about the negatives? Well, I genuinely was trying to find negatives about this watch. and I didn't do a very good job of it. The only one that I slightly found was heart rate. So for a start, when you press start an activity, it has to lock onto GPS, which it does incredibly quickly, and it has to lock into your heart rate, which is a bit weird because I'll have had it locked on before I start, and then it kind of has to re-lock on, and that can take longer than the GPS does. The other thing is I have had some heart rate accuracy issues with my runs. Today I went on a 10-mile long run, really easy pace, and it was doing fantastically until about 6.5 miles, where suddenly it was just recording 176 BPM almost consistently for the rest of the run, which is a little bit weird. It never like clicks back in. I've seen some things about it linking in with your cadence, which would make sense because that's probably about the cadence I'd do for a run like that. Obviously I've only been using it for a week, so I'm gonna have to look at it a little bit more, see if I can tighten the watch strap. I do have the silicone version as well rather than the nylon strap, and they do obviously say that heart rate will be more accurate with nylon because it can be tighter to your wrist. And also at the end of the day, if you really want accurate heart rate results, get a heart rate monitor. COROS have one for about 70 quid that goes up on your arm, which is going to be much more accurate than the wrist. So if you really want that accurate heart rate data, you probably shouldn't be relying on your watch anyway. There it is. That is the COROS Pace 3. What about in comparison to Garmin? Probably the biggest brand in the world of running and sports watches. It depends. If you're really into your running and quite serious about it, COROS is the way to go. It has more data and more functionalities, and I think it'll really help you improve as a runner. However, if you're not quite so serious about running, but maybe do it as a hobby or haven't been running for very long and you want to train for your first 10K or something, I think with the features like Pace Pro and the automatic training plan that you can kind of get on some of the newer Garmin watches, maybe Garmin is the way to go. This is a bit raw in some ways. It presents you with loads and loads of numbers, whereas this kind of evaluates it a bit more for you. This is maybe a bit easier to use if you're a beginner. I do think the COROS is very versatile. From beginners to elites, the Pace 3 is a great watch for tracking running. The thing about Garmin is it has that versatility, but just across loads of different watches, so you kind of have to think really carefully about what watch is exactly right for you, because they have so many different lines that two watches might be very similar, but there's just one really key feature that one misses out on and you really want that feature. Whereas with the COROS, there's basically either the COROS Pace 3 or the Apex and the Apex Pro. If you want a decent running watch, you can just go for the Pace 3 rather than having to think about exactly which level of Garmin you want. That's basically my review. Hope you found it helpful. In conclusion, I think this is a great watch. I love having it on my wrist. I'll continue to monitor possible heart rate inaccuracies, but apart from that, I think for the money, it's fantastic, and COROS have done a really good job creating a bit of a unique watch that is exciting to use and tracks your runs really well. But obviously at the end of the day, it's not all about what's on your wrist and the data. It's about whether you're enjoying your runs. Go out there, don't look at your watch, just enjoy the fact that you're out in nature, running, getting fit, getting healthy, enjoying some exercise. So really, who needs a watch anyway? But just remember, if it's not on Strava, it doesn't count, so get yourself a watch.